Okay, my name is Fred Johnson. I'm from Akron. I'd like to welcome all of our political leaders, associates, into Akron to hear what we have to say. And as you can hear, we have a lot to say. I'm an advocate for poor people, people of color, and in the last 10, 15 years, old people. And you know, I'd like to also mention that when I was a young man getting involved in activism, a lot of old people who are in this room were old people. And now I'm here with you as one of you. But the point I want to make is in regards to the budget and politics in America overall. You know, it's very confusing. The media will get the budget information, political information, and intertwine it, and that leaves us out in the community very confused, very scared. You know, my mother-in-law called me the other day, get rid of your cell phone, get rid of your cell phone. Every once in a while, somebody will say, get your cell phone. You know, so it's more for me, scare tactics. What I like to see, and what I'm seeing in North Africa and the Middle East, I'd like to see here in America. I'd like, you know, I used to go into North Africa and the Middle East until it got too hot. And I was amazed at how those folks were really used and duped by their leaders. And now I look at what's happening with us here in America, and I can see why these people are raising so much hell. You know, I want to start raising, I can't do it anymore, but, you know, I'd like to go ahead. I do it from here. I do it from here. And I'd like to see us get more into what we were into in the 50s and the 60s, activism. Stone cold activism. Didn't look back, just like I look at those folks in the Middle East, they say, we're not going anywhere until they go. You know, you hear that constantly, and they're sticking by their guns. And so I'm hoping that at some point here in America, we'll start standing up. Old people, poor people, people of color, all those who are disenfranchised here in America, we need to stand up. And of course, we know our political leaders can't be out there with us doing those type things, but they can encourage us, especially if you have a two-party system that is not for the benefit of all Americans. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon. My name is Vicki Zirkle Armstrong, and I'm a native of Washington State, but I've been here in Ohio for over 40 years. And I'm a former teacher, I'm a former social service worker, I'm now a small business owner and community activist. I believe that our budget shows that our values are skewed. Tax breaks for the rich and for huge multinational corporations. We have never-ending wars and occupations. We have no decent health care for millions of Americans. We have big city education systems that are almost totally broken. And we have college that is out of reach for millions of young people. Given all of that, I have a couple of proposals to make. First of all, bring the troops home now.
Yeah, right.
Close the long-term tax breaks for the rich and for the gas and oil companies that have had them on the books for years and years and years, who no longer need them, that make billions of dollars of profit every year. President Jimmy Carter knew that our national energy policy is our national security policy, and it is time that we understood that. As I said, we need to bring the troops home now, but beyond that, we need to close at least 25% of all our U.S. military installations abroad. I believe we have over 1,000 of them. And we need to use a good portion of that money that we would save from those military installations on our energy policy. We need to do a couple of things. First of all, we need to do second-generation alternative biofuels. And there is a gentleman here in town that the Barberton Norton Wadsworth Peace Group has heard from that says that we have existing technology for that. Being from Washington State, growing up 25 miles from Mount St. Helens, I know that we have an enormous amount of geothermal energy all through this country that if we just did the research and technology support for, we could power the country practically. There's hydrogen fuel cells that we could do, and we could have more support for geo, wind, wave, and solar installations. Finally, I'd like to say that we need to support the educational programs for science and sustainable agriculture starting in grade school and targeting the rural and inner city schools. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mary King, and I live in Akron and have for a long time. During the Vietnam War, I was another mother for peace. Now I'm another grandmother for peace. But there you go. I'm reading a statement. I'm reading a statement from my husband as well. So for this moment, imagine that I'm 6'4", an Air Force veteran, grew up in a military family, played racquetball, and was in business for my career. As someone that has lived in 5 countries and traveled the world extensively, I can say unequivocally that Americans have one of the highest standards of living in the world. Does that mean that we have what is often said to be the greatest country in the world? Not necessarily. Regrettably, we are sliding into a country that cares less for the common good and cares more for the profits of corporations and increasing the wealth of the wealthy. In 1985, the wealthiest 1% of the country had 20% of the entire wealth of the country. In 2010, the wealthiest 1% had 30%. Its share of annual income doubled from 12 to 25% in that period. We have over 40 million people without health insurance, and though there is an attempt to cover all Americans, the majority of our elected representatives are trying to prevent this from happening. We have the highest obesity rate in the world, resulting in 300,000 obesity-related deaths annually. Our smoking habit causes 400,000 deaths annually. We lose 30,000 lives annually from handgun deaths. Our infant mortality rate is the highest in the industrialized world. Note that the above statistics occur to a great extent because of the influence that corporations exercise over our politicians through financial support. Insurance companies, tobacco companies, gun manufacturers. So in order to break that influence and have our elected representatives truly act in the best interests of the majority of people, that money bond needs to be broken. Billions of dollars are being spent by politicians just to get elected. I would be willing to have a portion of my taxes devoted to the election of my representatives, rather than their being influenced by organizations and corporations that work against the general welfare of Americans. I currently receive Social Security and Medicare benefits. My wife receives a pension from her years of hard work as a university teacher. We are hopefully set for the rest of our lives. Do I feel better about Okay. I constantly hear that our problem has been caused by too big government and that our taxes are too high. Regrettably, the misdirection of our taxes away from education, safety services, and the less fortunate is hurting our future. The majority of Americans are working hard to create a better quality of life, but our representatives that are supposed to be helping us achieve that quality of a better life seem to be more interested in getting reelected. Back to the little old lady who is really doing the talking here. Thank you to all who have made this opportunity possible. The Northeast Ohio American Friends Service Committee, U.S. Representatives Tim Ryan and Betty Sutton, U.S. Senators Sherrod Brown and Rob Portman, your work on behalf of all of us is deeply appreciated. I want to invoke the preamble to the Constitution of the United States as the basis for my remarks about the